Now we start in Egypt, where the Minister of Investment and International Cooperation promised legal reforms that would support investors and minimize obstacles they're currently facing. Now, this was at a meeting by the American Chamber of Commerce in the country. The new legislation should include incentives for investors in certain fields. And of course, there'll be particular emphasis on those that create more job opportunities, increase exports, or offer products that Egypt currently imports. Now, during the meeting, President of the American Chamber of Commerce in Egypt, Anis Aclimandos, expressed optimism over increasing U.S. investments to Egypt. The planned visit by Egyptian President Abdel-Fattah El-Sisi to the U.S. in April to meet U.S. President Donald Trump will, of course, likely improve relations, especially in the political and economic fields. Now, trade between the two countries has exceeded about $5.5 billion U.S. dollars and involves about 1,000 American companies investing in Egypt. Now, Yasser Hakim joins us in Cairo with more on this. Yasser, as always, welcome to the show. Now, we saw the minister talked about a new investment law in the works today. Any insights into this law and what exactly it entails?
Basically, it's a new law, so there's a lot of clauses there. But if you take the most important aspect that any investor would be looking at is the facilities to open a business in Egypt and also to exit the market. And this is the big problem in the current investment law, not just in the law, in how it is applied. Sometimes the clauses are good, but they're not applied very well. And that goes with bureaucracy and red tape. The new law is facilitating the acquiring land for businesses. It's facilitating how to get the license to start to build a factory. Those two are very, very important because it takes ages in Egypt and it takes years actually in some situations, not weeks like many other countries. Also to adopt the one-stop shop, which is to get all the paperwork for establishing a company or a factory in Egypt very quickly through one person. Not like now it takes, you have to go to several ministries, several authorities to get your paper done and security clearance. So it's a long list of signatures and stamps you need that takes months and months to open a project in Egypt. And this new law will facilitate all this and try to tackle this problem for investors.
Now, Yasser, Minister Nasser also mentioned that she's working to redraft a number of laws that certainly will address the obstacles that investors face in Egypt. Now, the World Bank has pointed to areas like obtaining and processing documents. What are the priorities right now in Egypt's business sector, especially when it comes to easing doing business in the country?
Of course, we've talked about the documents and how they're trying to facilitate. They're saying they push it down to even 8 days to have the license to have your own factory or your own company, which is extremely good international standard if it's applied the right way. But you've also got another problem is that when there's a legal issue with one investor or so forth, the legal system in Egypt takes a long time. It's very, very slow. And the government has established what is called the economic courts. And this will be specialized only in solving the economic problems of businessmen, of companies, so that the law takes faster route and justice takes a quick response to any problem. And this will make investors feel safe. Labor law will also be improved. The training, providing the labor rights to be able to get the better quality of workers to the investors is also going to be improved in the legislative side. These are the part, but most important of these issues is to try to get the legal system and the laws helping the investors, especially with visas as well, and to access inside the country and outside, and the dollar access and the hard currency. All this will be put down in the new legislative to help the investors open up their businesses and feel safe at the same time.
Now, Yasser, President El-Sisi will be visiting Washington next month. What do you expect from that meeting?
It's a very important meeting. It's the first meeting for an Egyptian president since 2004. to the US. And that's from a country that every president used to visit the US at least twice a year before 2004. So for more than 12 years, no Egyptian president visiting the US. It means this is going to be a landmark visit. Obviously, business is on the top of the table besides the political issues and attracting investments. The United States is a big investor in Egypt. Egypt is the #1 country where the US in Africa, where the US invests. So with 33% of all US investments in Africa is in Egypt. But in the last 2 years, these investments have dropped by 85%. We're talking about a stable $21 billion of US investments in Egypt, but these were before the last 2 years. Now the last 2 years has dropped considerably. We're talking in hundreds of millions rather than billions of dollars. And I think what the president is going to go with the new investment law, or at least the new draft of the investment law, to improve the relations with the new US administration, hoping that this will pour in more investments to Egypt, and also to help the Egyptian exports to open up the US market to the Egyptian exports, which badly need a market, especially agricultural products and clothes and accessories. All these and chemicals as well. They need a market, and I think this will be discussed during the meetings in the US.
Certainly. Well, many thanks, Yasser, for those insights. Yasser Hakim joining us there in Cairo.